Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake for Hoopa Hideout, coming to you today with another live replay analysis video set. These videos are going to be from a 4-round event that we held, and we're not reviewing, it wasn't a championship event, it's not a tournament that we're reviewing for the store and for the local players. It's a tournament that we're reviewing because my student Lincoln, who is on the right side here, was basically the reason we held the tournament. He is preparing to go to Worlds, and so we're holding the tournament, and I'm doing this video to analyze his play and give him any last-minute tips and feedback that I can generate based on how he played in this event. So it's been about a week since this event was held, and I think it could be helpful for him to hear any suggestions I have, and anything that you guys see could also be of benefit. So please chime in if you see things that should have been done differently, really on both sides, but especially on Lincoln's side. So follow the Roaring Moon playmat, because I know he goes to the side of the table for some of the later rounds. But with that, so let's go ahead and get started right now. Lincoln is playing a Dragapult Dusknoir deck, and Elijah is playing obviously a Dragapult deck. I believe it is Dragapult Charizard. It looks like Lincoln had a really rough start there. Just attach pass with the Pidgey. Now we see an Arven, and it looks like a Forest Sealstone, and then a couple Ball Search cards. So we see the Arven come down first. My guess would be that, yeah, we'd see a Buddy Poffin, and he already has 4 Steelstones, so I guess might as well grab, I don't know what else this play is, but the Defiance Belt, or Band, certainly makes sense. Doing a little bit of prize checking, and making a selection. And now he's playing the Buddy Poffin, so we'll see the selections from there. I think more prize checking now. And yeah, he is getting a Pidgey and a Charmander. So this is the version of Dragapult that uses the Charizard as an engine. Looks like we're going to have some glare issues on the side, but thankfully that's just the discard. And we see Rotom come down off of the Nest Ball as well. So my guess is we're going to see probably nothing but a Insta-Charge once this is done. Maybe an attachment, especially if he has a Psychic Energy, but I could also just see that being skipped. We know Charizard does frequently play. Oh, but he goes ahead and does attach. I was gonna say Charizard is known to play Lost Vacuum, and could get it off of the Pidgey if the Pidgey evolves into Pidgeot this turn. So we could see that Lost Vacuum go away, but I suppose there is a better chance that the Pidgey is going to be trying to, make Lincoln's hand set up. So we're not really seeing what else is going on here from Lincoln's side, but we do see a rare candy coming down off of the Arven. Well, at least we were seeing the rare candy. Looks like he decides on going Buddy Poffin instead. Buddy Poffin to get Charmander, and I would assume probably another Charmander. Okay. Oh, he does have a 60 HP. Oh, okay. Looking for a 70 HP Charmander, which is good when you're playing against Dragapult. So yes, we have 2 of the 70 HP Charmanders coming down. That's the way we want to do it, to be able to play around Dragapult, knocking one of them out with its attack. If Elijah's able to get that attack up and going this coming turn. Now, okay, so Lincoln used Call for Family to get the other 2 Pokemon set up. He used Call for Family to get the additional Pidgey and a Duskull out. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think this is the reason that he chose not to get the rare candy, is that he was going to go for this play. But it leaves him open for Elijah to make if Elijah can get Dragapult set up, he will be able to knock out both Pidgeys without giving Lincoln a chance to evolve them up. We see another Charmander come down on Elijah's side. It looks like Elijah's actually kind of stuck here as well. He's trying to figure out a way to use the force Sealstone optimally to try to progress his board state the best he can. But it looks like he may just be going for an Iona. So that's a no-no, Lincoln. We definitely don't want to reach across the board and start touching our opponent's markers for V-Star or anything else. If they haven't been keeping track of things correctly, we need to tell them and or tell the judge, but we don't just reach across and start making changes. So at this point, Lincoln would be within his rights to start asking to see a play made by Elijah. Elijah's had, well, more than enough time. I was going to say well enough time. Elijah's had plenty of time to make a decision there. He really needed to kind of speed that up and make a decision a bit faster than that. See Lincoln attaching an individual energy to the other Charmander. He does have a rare candy in hand now. So presumably if it would have made sense to get a rare candy off of Arven, it should make sense to play a rare candy now that he has in hand. I don't know what's holding him back just now. So we see a Palpad just sending Arven back into the deck. So I'm a little befuddled here. I'm not sure. I guess it goes back to what else is in Lincoln's hand. And I guess he doesn't have everything. He does have a Lost Vacuum, though, so I think at the very least, if there's nothing else going on, he needs to play that Lost Vacuum, get rid of the ability for Elijah to just grab any card he wants next turn. So we have Lost Vacuum. We have... And Lincoln just passes here. I really think, if nothing else, we need to play that Lost Vacuum. There has to be a card we can get rid of. Because if we just let the game proceed with Elijah having access to the Force Sealstone, he's going to draw out of this kind of deadlock faster than we are. I feel like the only reason he hasn't done so already is that he's trying to find a way to get that psychic energy alongside everything else. But we do see Elijah also Palpad in the lone Arven. We'll see an individual attachment for the Dreepy. And it looks like Elijah's just going to pull the Ripcord and play Iono. I really feel like with having Rotom on board, he's favored to come out of this deadlock faster than Lincoln. So I don't know that giving his opponent a fresh hand of 6 cards makes the most sense. I feel like Elijah maybe would have been better served to not pull the Ripcord just yet. So obviously we've got a rare candy. It looks like we have 2 copies of Arven. Looks like a Pidgeot EX. So with the Pidgeot EX, I'm not sure. I think this has to be the turn that we're doing something. I think Rotom here. Yeah, you get the Dragapult or you get the rare candy, and then we have the rare candy in hand with the Pidgeot to go ahead and evolve up there. And even if Dragapult just ends up doing a Jet Punch knockout, that's still moving forward, and that's still a good thing. It looks like we're seeing Charizard brought to the forefront. That surprises me a little bit, because we could get the Dragapult in there, and then we won't power it up this turn, but we get it powered up next turn to start spreading damage, and we get the knockout. Because to attack with Charizard, we're gonna have to retreat the energy off. Last minute Elijah may be changing his mind and getting the Dragapult. Yes, he does. He goes with the Dragapult, and then we'll see. He does go ahead and evolve the Pidgeot EX first, using its ability now to get the other rare candy to evolve Dreepy up to Dragapult, and then we will see a Jet Punch KO. At least I expect we will. Yeah, there we go. Jet Punch for the knockout. Claiming 1 prize card. And now, because of that Iono, what does Lincoln have to come back with? He's got an Ultra Ball. We saw a rare candy in hand, so at the very least, he's going to be able to get one of his pieces evolved up. And I think I might have seen 2 rare candies, in which case we could go with a Pidgeot Charizard combo. Okay, so there is the Pidgeot EX. We see another rare candy and a Charmander, or a Charizard coming down onto the Charmander as well. Going ahead and grabbing the 1 extra fire energy needed to power up Charizard EX. And now he's looking, it looks like this is a Kieran in his deck, but he's only hitting for 210, so even boosting that by 30 only puts us up to 240. Now, if Pidgeot comes down, okay, let's do some math. So if Pidgeot brings out Dusknoir, we put the 50 damage on the Dragapult. So then Dragapult is down, instead of being at 320, he'd be down to 270. Elijah would get another prize card from the Dusknoir, or from the Dusclops. But that's not how we're going to play it. Okay. So instead, it looks like Lincoln is... Now, why are we playing the Kyurem? Why? No. Did he forget the... Okay. Okay, yeah, that was a big mistake. Kieran was not needed because Elijah has drawn a prize card here. So Charizard was already hitting for 210. We don't need to boost that to 240. That said, we could have, instead of getting the A-Spec there, we could have gotten a Dusclops and used it to take down the Dragapult. And then the Kieran would have come into play, because if we do 50, that puts us from 320 down to 270. Then Elijah draws another prize card. So then he has taken 2 prizes, and that's a 60 HP, or 60 damage buff. So we're at 240. Kieran adding 30 means we'd be at 270, and we would knock out the Dragapult EX. So I think that would have been arguably a better play. But I think it's fine. Like, I think it's okay to go ahead and just do the Prime Catcher play as well. It's an easy knockout. But we really need to make sure our numbers are right there, because Kieran was not necessary, and 30 damage extra later on is certainly going to be powerful. Okay, we'll go ahead and keep going. I just wanted to pause to talk about that. So Elijah promoting the Pidgeot. He's got another Buddy Buddy Poppin coming down. Looks like we're going for one. He's looking for a second Dreepy. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was looking specifically for the Bidoof and the Dreepy. And I'm just counting the Pokemon, making sure that that is the correct bench size, and it is. You see Arvin come out. Arvin going to get a rare candy, and looks like no tools, but he does shortcut and use Pidgeot's Quick Search while he's there to grab a second energy, the Psychic Energy component for Dragapult. So that rare candy may just be sitting there for next turn, but okay. So then we get Dragapult up into the active, and Elijah chooses to hit into Charizard for 200 while also knocking out the Dusknoir on the bench. I think that's a reasonable choice. The other option would have been to use the counter catcher they had in hand to either hit into Pidgeot or to knock out this Charmander. If he knocked out the Charmander and the Dusknoir, he stays on odd prizes, so that's probably not the right way to go. But this is perfectly fine. I will say, though, Lincoln would be in a much better spot if that Dragapult never got a chance to make that play. You know, even if there was still a Rotom on deck, you could take the knockout on the Rotom this turn and be in a much better spot with no Dragapult in play to spread damage around. Even though right now, the Charmeleon can't have damage counters added to it. So we see Rescue Stretcher. I'm sorry, not Rescue Stretcher. That's a Super Rod. Just getting back Dusknoir energy and the baby Pidgey. Okay. I was like, there's no reason to get the Pidgey back. It's just cluttering up our deck. Dusknoir is somewhat okay, I guess. The energy is certainly worth getting I guess Dusknoir can be meaningful if we pull it off, but we're going to have to deal with this Dragapult before we can ever bench it again. Because that's the problem that you get in this matchup, is that Dragapult is able to prevent you from benching things that you need to bench. We saw earlier Lincoln plays, I think, a couple of 60 HP Charmanders because they have the more meaningful attacks, and Dragapult keeping them from being able to come into play is another thing that we have to think about. So that would have been perhaps yet another reason that taking out the Dragapult early on might have been the best play. Elijah playing an Ultra Ball. Looks like he's getting the Charizard now to augment the rare candidate he got off a Quick Search last turn. I'm guessing that we're going to see Quick Search for a barrel here pretty soon. Technically, we should see Cloak's ability get used before we use Quick Search in case Elijah's able to just draw into the barrel. But no, we see Elijah just going straight in, using Quick Search first. The reason, again, that you want to use Cloak's ability is that, there may be two cards that you want roughly close to equally, right? So maybe we want Barrel and we want Boss's Orders. Maybe those are the two best cards for us. Well, if Cloak can get us one of those two cards, we can get the other one off a Quick Search. But now we're relying on chance and only having one out available to Cloak instead of two. So that recon ability is really more powerful if you do it before Quick Searching, because it can just help your hand out quite a bit, or quite a bit more. It does look like he got an Ultra Ball, which will get him to that barrel if that's where he wants to go with it. But he'd be getting rid of some meaningful cards. So let's see what Elijah chooses. Looks like he just is good with just doing the attack. We're seeing 60 going on to the Pidgeot, as no damage counters can be placed on the Charmeleon. So it should be 240 damage on this Dragapult. And I think Pidgeot may still have an energy. But we are in the midst of a Quick Search as well. Looks like Lincoln's choosing to Quick Search for the Pheasantipity. Of course, Pheasantipity, one of the new cards from the Shrouded Fable set that will be legal for Worlds, but isn't legal anywhere else yet. In particular, Pheasantipity has the ability that when you have something knocked out, it will let you draw 3 cards each turn if something was knocked out the turn prior. So we see 3 cards come down. Looks like Charizard is among them. Unless I'm seeing that wrong, I thought I saw a gold. Yeah, there's a gold Charizard right there. So I'm not sure what Lincoln's frustrated by there. That claw hand that he often uses. Maybe that. Maybe he was... I don't know. I'm not sure what he was looking for that he didn't get. It's like we have an Ultra Ball and discarding the Pidgeot and a Forest Sealstone. So this will probably get... Oh, Radiant Charizard. That was not on my bingo card. I was expecting... I was expecting Dusknoir to come down. But Lincoln is correctly identifying that he can take a knockout on the active Dragapult with the Radiant Charizard. Unfortunately, his opponent does have a powered-up Charizard himself. And Quick Search will bring a boss up that will allow him, after this knockout happens, it will allow Elijah to boss up the Pidgeot and take it out with the Charizard EX. So that's exactly what Elijah does, and obviously that wins the game. I'm trying to think if Lincoln could have done something clever there to not quite take the knockout. We saw the Pheasantipity come in, I'm thinking you avoid using the Pheasantipity because that in and of itself immediately gives Elijah the go-ahead to boss KO for game. So with that in mind, I think we can look and try to see what we could do with just the Charizard and the Pidgeot. So we can't attack the active because that would have, attacking the active there would have meant a knockout, and we get the same result we had. We might have been able, depending on if he had to use Quick Search to get the Charizard, we might have been able to use Quick Search to get a boss's orders ourselves and take out the Pidgeot, leaving the Dragapult as an easy target for our next turn, and preventing Elijah from having an easy way to get to boss. I think that might have been the only way to win that game. I don't know. It wouldn't have guaranteed the win, and like I said, I don't know if Lincoln had Charizard in hand there or not. A little bit of discussion about the previous game. That's right. They were confused about whether or not they needed to flip for who goes first, and I was instructing them, no, Lincoln just gets to decide that, but it should have been decided before they saw their cards. However, Lincoln basically always chooses to go first right now, so we kind of just said that's going to be a warning for the day. So draw for turn, an attachment, and a pass. So I think we saw another Kieran and an Iono in Lincoln's hand. See a Dreepy and another Pidgey come down. And then I'm guessing we're going to see that Call for Family attack come into play. Yep. Looks like Elijah is considering, yep, there we go, a Charmander and a second Dreepy. So we have two Pidgeys, two Dreepies, and one Charmander, and it is a 70 HP Charmander, although I don't know how relevant that is for Lincoln's deck. And then immediately following it up with an Iono. So both players will get a fresh new hand of 6 cards. But whose cuisine reigns supreme? We see a 60 HP Charmander come down for Lincoln and the Dusknoir. And looks like we're going to see Pidgeot come into play. This is nice. And we see a Quick Search. Looks like we were seeing, it was looking like a rare candy, but then it changed into a Forest Sealstone. Then we see a retreat into Charmander, and Lincoln does go ahead and bench that Rotom V so that he can insta-charge to draw 3 additional cards. And that also works out for being able to use that Forest Sealstone next turn. Elijah trying to take a quick look at the Rotom V, which is only interesting because Elijah's playing his own Rotom V. We see a Neo Upper Energy going on to the Dreepy. And if I'm not imagining things, there are 2 Charizards in hand here, but Elijah having to play an Iono instead of you make use of them. Both players, it looks like, are saying they're just going to tap each other's hands as they go to the bottom of the deck. And again, both players drawing 6 fresh new cards. But it doesn't look like Elijah got much off of those 6 cards. Not a whole lot he can really do here. We do see one more Buddy Buddy Poffin come down. Probably getting Cleffa. Okay. V-Star has not been used this game. I'm guessing it just had not been flipped back into the correct orientation yet. And then we do see the Pidgey retreat off an energy in order to make use of Cleffa. Elijah, having 5 cards in hand from just having played the Iono, only gets to draw 2 additional cards. One of them, a Barrel that can't be evolved into now. But Lincoln jumping straight away, getting Arven with Rare Candy and Forest Sealstone. And you could say that his 6 cards were maybe a little kinder to him than Elijah's cards were to Elijah. So Lincoln here, Ultra Balling away another Ultra Ball, and 60 HP Charmander in order to get Charizard, using that rare candy that it just got off of Arven to evolve up into Charizard EX. And we'll see a couple energies go down. Lincoln correctly evolved the active 60 HP Charmander. So I like the play, and I like the forethought of sending the 60 HP Charmander up last turn so that it would either get KO'd and not be a target for Dragapult, or it would not get KO'd and then could be evolved and remove the liability. I think that we're seeing Lincoln counting energies still as part of the Infernal Rain ability, but no, we just saw a card being pulled out, and I think it was a Charizard. So that was Quick Search. That was actually Quick Search. That might have been a Dusclops. No, it was Boss's Orders. But Lincoln did just use Arven, so he cannot play Boss's Orders the same turn. I would have liked it if Lincoln had gotten the Dusclops there, because again, we remove a liability, we can take out the active Cleffa, and then take a more meaningful knockout immediately afterwards, again setting our opponent back in a more meaningful way than what we were able to do as played. Getting Boss for next turn is fine, but we can always get Boss the turn we need it. Getting something we can play to impact our opponent more, I think, is more relevant. Looks like Elijah is still just kind of stuck, though. He settles for just attaching a Psychic Energy manually to the second Dreepy. And it looks like Elijah's going to play Silene to get back a card or two from his discard. So for each head, he's rolling two die, and for each heads, he got one. He gets to put one card from his discard back on top of his deck. So we saw that Ayano comes back for next turn. Lincoln reading the card just to make sure that it does what he thinks it does, and it does what Elijah said. Good on him for that. And then we just see a pass. So we know there's a boss in hand. I would once again really like to see Quick Search grab a Dusclops to take out the active Pidgey, so that we can completely remove the Pidgeot option from Elijah. I could also see getting a Rare Candy and a Dusknoir. Instead we see Arven coming down. I don't like the Arven, so he's getting Rare Candy this way, along with Defiance Band, which does nothing. I would have much rather just seen Pidgeot grab the Rare Candy there, because then we could play Boss's Orders as our supporter for turn, and we could get a double KO type of situation going where we remove two of Elijah's resources, be it two Charizard, two Dragapult lines. We could immediately remove both, and we still don't even see it played. Okay. I think Lincoln is forgetting that he has the V-Star ability here, or he's just trying to hold it. But this is 2 turns in a row that he could have made much more meaningful plays if he had used his abilities in a more meaningful way. We could have, like I say, we could have wiped out all chances of Elijah having any Pidgeot ever come into play. We could have completely removed his ability to develop a Dragapult. We could have taken out the potential card draw here from the barrel, although that, I think, is a much lesser concern than literally anything else we talked about. And we also could have just evolved the Duskull and left it sitting there as a Dusclops, not getting KO'd, because now it's just going to become, well, I guess it's not going to become a free Dragapult. But it ran the risk of becoming a free Dragapult knockout to bring Elijah that much closer to being back in the game. But that little Duskull could have done a lot to help Lincoln this game, and instead it's done almost nothing. I think that's a relevant thing to kind of discuss too, just in general. When you're set up and you're playing the game actively, you want to do things like using Dusknoir to accelerate your damage and move the game forward faster, because your opponent, if you play it too slow, your opponent starts to have more ways to creep back into the game. Whereas if you're fast playing things, if you're, you can steamroll, or you can just kind of slowly work toward getting a knockout, like getting the game won. And slow but steady can win the race, but sometimes a steamroller is the best engine out there. So we can still see now the Dusknoir with Rare Candy combo, and it could still be used to knock out that. Okay, but we just see Dusclops. So if it's just the Dusclops, I think we need to just leave it there for now. Because I don't think that 50 damage does anything for us. Now I see Lincoln trying to decide what to get off of Quick Search. And we don't see what he got. I would like to see a boss's orders to take out this Dracloak. Countercatcher is about as good. The reason I would say boss's orders over Countercatcher is just because I'm sorry, not Countercatcher, Prime Catcher. But by using boss's orders, it's a supportive return since we're not using a supportive return. So the Prime Catcher is still in there to use alongside a support at some other point. We see Elijah finally getting a Pidgeot set up. Once again, Lincoln could have prevented that from ever happening. We see a Defiance Band come down onto the Charmander. And some draw with Bibarel. So now we're going to Pidgeot using the ability, I assume grabbing a Rare Candy. My expectation is that we're going to evolve up into Dragapult here. But we could see something funky happen as well. Defiance Band on a Dragapult when Lincoln's at 3 prizes only hits for, it hits for 300, not 330. So I think Elijah is better off going with the Dragapult here to spread some damage counters around. But he decides that Charizard is the way to go. At least he can grab energy out to retreat the Dreepy and not lose the Neo upper energy. Well, I said he could. Looks like he may only have 2 energy available for Infernal Rain. And that could be a bit of a problem. We really don't want to have to retreat off the Neo upper energy here. But we have an energy in hand still, so we can manually attach and retreat. That works out. Now, this will be a hit. Wait, is Kieran in hand? Kieran is in hand. So I'm going to double down on what I said before, that I think attacking with Dragapult, since we're not getting a knockout, being 30 away is not that much different from being 130 away, except that we'd have damage counters on the Pidgeot or the Dusclops. Probably on the Pidgeot, because then pretty quickly that Pidgeot becomes available as a boss KO with only the 200 damage. Lincoln evolving now to the Dusknoir, which I'm assuming he's now going to use to take out the Bibarel. And I'm wrong, he uses it instead to add damage to Charizard EX, enabling it to be a one-hit KO. This does put Lincoln all the way down to 1 prize card, and I like that play a lot. All he has to do for follow-up is to evolve this Charmander, or Charmeleon, into Charizard, and then boss for, use Pidgeot to get boss for game on anything. And if Elijah is not able to evolve the Dreepy, then it's an even easier task for Lincoln. I guess that's not true, because even a bite for 40 will take a knockout. So we do see Dragapult evolved up. And now what Elijah could do, if he has it, would actually be to boss up the Rotom and spread damage on both the, like, knock out the Rotom, spread damage on the Charizard, and onto the Pidgeot, because why not? And if Elijah has all that, that is certainly the way to go. I think he still is at, well, I think he still has one prize remaining if that's the case. Oh, Counter Catcher, that works too. So Counter Catcher bringing up Charmeleon, and then drawing with the barrel. So this would be basically putting Lincoln out of the game when he takes a knockout on the Charmeleon and on the Charizard. So Elijah with the double knockout, taking out the Charmeleon and the Charizard, making things not so easy on Lincoln. So what we're looking at, Lincoln has one prize to take, but he no longer has any Charizard EX line to try to get an attack off. We do see a Pheasantipity come down. He will draw 3 cards there, and then we see a Quick Search come down. So the only thing I can think of is Lincoln does play Radiant Charizard, and it will only need 1 energy to attack. So if he has it, and it is right there, the Radiant Charizard. So if Lincoln realizes he will be able to get the Radiant Charizard, he can use Rotom V and the Force Seal Stone to get, oh, so he gets the energy there, okay. I was going to say the Force Seal Stone can get the, oh, he had a Nest Ball in hand. Okay, so Nest Ball gets the Radiant Charizard, and we do see the energy that he got off the Quick Search attached. And then the Force Seal Stone will get him Boss's Orders, and he will win the game. This unfortunately only makes it a tie, though, because this is game 2, and there's not a lot of time left on the round. I think we were down to just like a matter of seconds left, if that. So Boss gets played, half of the field can be bossed up, and Lincoln will take the win. So Lincoln takes that one home, but it is now just a 1-1 victory, and no third game was played. So come away with a tie is better than a loss, but there were a number of things that we saw throughout that game that could have accelerated the pace of this game and potentially made it, instead of that, the slow and steady wins the race. If we could have just steamrolled a little bit, used the Duskclops or Dusknoir to take extra prizes and shut down Elijah's options, I think that could have made all the difference. And maybe we would have had time for a game 3, and maybe that game 3 could have finished in Lincoln's favor. Maybe not, but I think that it certainly, there would have been a better chance if we could have ended things sooner and more efficiently. So hopefully little things like that can be picked up on. I think too, saving the Force Seal Stone for the very end there. Lincoln actually had in his hand, he had a Lumineon too, so he could have gotten the Boss's Order that way. He didn't even need to use the V-Star power there at the end. So if he could have used it earlier to more meaningful effect, that would have been huge as well. But like I said, none of that happened. That's just conjecture and me, hoping that we can not tie in Worlds. We'll go on to round 2 tomorrow. So with that, we'll go ahead, finish up for today. Thank you for watching this far. If you have, I've been Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake with Hoopa Hideout, and I will see you next time.